Welcome to CATtheMinion Energy Work. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. This is Astrology Tarot Periodical. We're looking at Cancer and Gemini together. There's a total of 6 readings in this set. It's supposed to be relating to the full moon Virgo energy for the end of February. However, I've been experiencing editing problems, and this is the 4th video I'm recording, and I don't actually know if it's going to be out before March begins, but we'll just see what happens. It's taking as long as it's going to take. This is a yin-yang relationship spread. It's designed for romantic relationships, but it's not guaranteed that that's what it's going to be. Whenever I read for a template, which is kind of like a color by number. The general framework is going to be the same, but the individual experience has some room for differentiation. I have cards over here for Cancer, and then I have a crossover card from that same pile for Gemini, and then the cards for Gemini also cross over. So normally what I do is I'll flip over the deck for the crossover card to be the bottom of the deck. Because I want the reading to be easier to see, I'm just going to pull the card off of the bottom of the deck. Also, normally this reading is 1 layer, but for this moment in time, it's 2 layers. So with this full moon energy, what we've got is a top layer that has to do with the material world, what's easy to see or parse out about what's going on in the situation. And we'll find out what this situation is when we get to it. I found out with the first 3 readings that it has something to do with linking the material and the spiritual world, so I'm expecting to see that in this reading also. The top layer is the easier to understand part, and the bottom layer is going to be sort of a more emotionally, spiritually involved layer that's going to show what's going on behind the scenes, what the full moon is illuminating that's been sort of pushed down under the carpet with the rest of the skeletons. So I'll take these. Come on, bottom card. I'm going to leave that one down for a minute. And we got, one of my personally edited cards here, and we'll get the bottom off of this deck and leave it there for a minute. I'm going to read the crossover cards first. We'll start with this one because I keep touching it. The inverted 6 of Wands with the beautiful butterfly. Our energy should be Jupiter and Leo. It's inverted though, and every time I get an inverted sun card it tells me the moon, but that's sort of indicating the Cancerian energy, but also the full moon, like an eclipse or a solstice. But here we're dealing with the full moon because the sun is illuminating all of the moon, so they're at their maximum of communicating with each other. But this is, it's like if I was looking at this card, I'd be like, oh, I'm rising up from the ashes, I'm overcoming my circumstances, you know, I'm winning at life. This is more like the glass ceiling also has anti-homeless spikes on it. So we'll find out what that means in a minute, but it basically, Cancer is having a very Sleeping Beauty kind of moment where, like, in a coma. I'm getting a very Piscean energy here, and for some reason the moon card in tarot is traditionally ruled by Pisces, and I've been getting some other Neptunian energy, which I'm not too worried about. I think are we in Sun in Pisces right now? I think we are. Maybe that's affecting it, but it's very, like, the subconscious is very active here. I know that sounds like a real crap-ass explanation, but we're seeing this idea of, oh, I see, this is actually relevant. Somnus of dreams. We have a water element crossing energies with an air element. And it's like Cancer come up out of the muck and into the dreamland. Usually I don't remember my dreams, but it's been off the chain this week. And I'm saying that from the perspective of the viewer, not from, like, me personally. But I also was thinking of the word somnus earlier because I found in our scrap wood this little bed. I've got it set up because I'm working on painting it for one of my cat plushies. And I was thinking, oh, I should have one called Somnus to go in the bed. And I'm like, well, I've got 100 of them ready to stitch together, so I probably should pick one of those. But again, the word Somnus came up. And the reason that this is relevant to this, with this card in particular, is because with this little bed here, the idea of the reason, oh, here, I'll do a little demonstration. The reason that the cat plushie would be using the bed is to be traveling astrally without stressing out the body, you know, and I'll get like a little, make a little mask there for the wide open eyeballs. The point is that my intention was to paint the bed in such a way that the concept of rising up into the astral plane from a specific, an origin point is going to be highlighted. This white is a base layer. So, not a base player, although that might be relevant to your situation, but a base layer. Like to, in this case, I want to shout out to Graveyard Loon because I felt confident in what I'm doing from having watched a lot of his videos, so give him a little watch. So, this might not necessarily just be sleep and perchance to dream. It might specifically be the astral realm, or the idea that I'm unable to achieve the astral realm. I feel like there's more going on here, but what I'd like to do is get into the reading more, and then we'll come back to this. Already it seems confusing, and I'm not surprised that there's kind of a block at the beginning of the reading, because I was very much blocked from starting this reading. It's been 2 days since I recorded the first 3, and when I went to record a couple hours ago, after procrastinating for a while by editing the other video, I was cock-blocked by noise pollution that kind of sent me into a tizzy. I feel like all of those energies have something to do with this idea of it is not failure, it's trapped. It's giving dead end, but it's like you normally could go here, but the Maleficent has done all the brambles. But it has a lot to do with sleep, but more specifically astral plane. But if you're coming from the point of view that I take, when I'm dreaming, I assume that I'm out of body in the astral plane. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. The crossover card from Cancer into Gemini, I have my card here with the Joker, which is upright, but I've written Magician on it inverted, because the Joker is like kind of a trickster version of the sort of evil sorcerer. Like if you took the magician, they would be persuasive, right? You think of a hypnotist is basically a magician, and they'll put people in a trance and then make them walk around like a chicken or something, and it's, you know, for the lulls. But the way that I'm thinking about this is sort of like a cult of personality. And you can see this very easily in politics today, or, you know, fandoms in particular. But what we have is we have this kind of figurehead who is the magician, who is imposing their will on people in a way that seems rather organic, even if it's calculated. And that's where this idea of magic comes in, like mesmerizing. But if your magician is actually a clown, and we see this a lot in discourse on the internet, if someone's just being completely ridiculous and you can actually see through their magic, that's when the clown emoji comes out and you're like, get a load of this clown over here. So that's why I have that written on the Joker card. But for me, when the magician is inverted, it tells me I'm trying to pull a fast one on the universe by making what I want come to me, instead of earning enough experience points for the universe to unlock it for me for free. Right? Like, you didn't have to be that extra. You could have just figured out how to solve this math problem, and then you would have met your new best friend. But instead you had to go and like hand pick out a clique of people that you wanted to be in charge of. By the time you were done, they all thought you were like a giant ass clown and were making fun of you behind your back, and that's not what you wanted. I had like 2 or 3 different songs trying to come in my head at once, so none of them were very clear. He's a joker, he's a smoker, he's a midnight toker. Something. Ye old 70s. Okay. But I see that as being related to this blockage here. It's giving a little bit of like black magic, but it's also this idea of not necessarily being in flow with the universe will cause this eventual blockade. In that case, it would be a dead end. It almost looks like a block here, this shield device. It looks like a boss that popped up that you have to fight and you can't go this way. Like a train crossing. So let's look at the rest of Cancer surface layer. I always struggle with the fingernail thing. 2 of Swords upright. Okay, so we're practicing looking at things from another perspective. I'm looking both ways before I cross the street. It's like the picture of the wall-eyed person. It's like, I see what you did there and also over here. It's also giving behind the scenes. Was that the moon in Libra? It is the moon in Libra. Interesting. This is also a low vibration of the High Priestess or the Queen of Swords, or Justice. It's also a low vibration of the Choice, which would be the Lovers, which is Gemini energy, but coming in at a low vibration with the moon in Libra. I mean, you do have to choose to have perspective, because you can willfully not have perspective. So we see that these sides are talking to each other. Okay, so now we have the Jack of Swords upright. This can be a page or a knight, but here I'm seeing it as a page. I'm feeling it as 11. Pages are usually 11. And that way you could say that the page is apprenticing to the Queen of Swords, but we already knew that. 11 breaks down to 2, so these cards are kind of matching. But it's also, I'm learning to speak the truth, or to speak my truth. I want to speak up for myself. This is kind of wallflower, like I'm not speaking to the fact that something going on is bullshit. And it's not to say necessarily that Gemini is the Joker. If you want to be nasty about it, you could be like, oh, somebody's Two-Faced, obviously Gemini, like her. But we don't know what's going on with these other cards because people people aren't one-dimensional. Right? We don't want to say like, oh, Cancer is a victim and Gemini is some kind of abuser. That's not looking in both directions, and it's not taking into account soul contracts, ego distortions, survival, patriarchy, and all that. And we also don't know what else Gemini has going on yet. This is something that's surface level that Cancer has been experiencing, and their energy is tied to Gemini. So they could be experiencing something similar or just different ends of the same spectrum, like a baton that's being twirled. So if Cancer is in kind of a wanting to break out of a cult type of energy, not occult, OCC, but occult, as in a singular one, then if Gemini is holding the other polarity, they would have to be holding the energy of the cult leader. At least temporarily. And we see that they have that. And we have more swords. So Cancer is like all air except for this inverted fire card, which is like burnt out. Eight of Swords inverted. So Eight of Swords is my I want to break free card, and when it's inverted, it means I have taken the toilet paper off my eyeballs and I'm ready to escape from this prison that I allowed myself to be in. And we see like I do want to break free and I'm ready to get out. I'm looking for a way to extract myself, and I'm ready to speak out about what's really going on here. A little bit nervous, but I'm ready to start speaking out about it. This is very easy to think of in terms of a relationship with another person, but it could be with work, corporate, school, fandoms, religion, or patriarchal society at large. I believe it was the Leo Sagittarius reading that had the most patriarchy, but it's hard to remember at this point. I think it was, because that one was Take Me to Your Later. This one's not giving necessarily... It's actually really giving me more of like a fandom and distorted celebrity type person. Let's just say public person. And again, that could be books, music, movies, cartoons, comics, politics, religion, and so on. There's a lot of public people that have followers or, fandoms in particular, but it really is giving distorted fandom dynamic. Okay, so we see what Cancer has. We have the summary. Let's see what else Gemini is sitting on. Of course, Gemini has a double over here because of the twins. Father of Cups inverted. So that's the king with the black swan there. 14 inverted. Off balance. Not and very rigid. Not in the fun way, but in the, like, not willing to look in any direction but the one that they tell you. And then we have the Nine of Wands with the, should be the moon in Sagittarius. Yep. And what is my Father of Cups? Libra and Scorpio. Okay, so I have a Scorpionic card inverted, which tells me I need to go deeper. This one. And then this one is giving up a position. It's also giving me fall, like, of the patriarchy. Okay, well, I'm going to leave that alone for a second, but I'm going to turn the swan upright so you can see him for a second. He's so pretty. And the stairway to heaven there, but not so much. Okay, so I'm getting, it's like organized. An organized racket. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that, but it's very much giving fall of the patriarchy. Two of Wands. Okay, I see how this is going to go. This is very similar to Two of Swords. It's also a low vibration of the choice, Gemini energy, / the Lover's card. Like Jeff Foxworthy's thing about his wife trying on shoes and she's standing on one foot and then standing on the other, going like, these or these? It also looks like drumsticks, which is, you know, also like famous people's. Mars in Aries. That's giving like moon card, but coming from a very masculine energy. It also looks a lot like this stairway here. So this is also making me think of the chakras. It's like my whole system is getting realigned. Like my entire energetic system is getting overhauled, and I'm at a low vibration because it feels weird to me to have chosen to do or be something different than upholding this sort of patriarchal structure. Interesting. So it almost looks like these two are on the same side, but their perception of strength within that structure is different. Like this is somebody who was like an assistant to an assistant, and this is somebody who's just like some peon on the ground. Not to like urinate on, but like a tiny little speck. The Mother of Wands. Not surprised to see more wands. For some reason, Gemini's getting all this fire. Most of it's inverted, which is more burnout. Mother of Wands, which is the Queen here. Like Mother of God. You gotta crack an omelet. You've got to crack an omelet to make some eggs. This is autisming while ill is interesting when you try to speak sometimes. You have to break some eggs to make an omelet. Queens are 13. 13 inverted tells me an internal transformation, like an ego death cycle. It's coming in this feminine energy, though. But let me see what the Queen of Wands is. My cheat sheet that I made. Pisces and Aries. I'm wondering if Neptune is retrograde in Pisces. It might be. It's definitely giving like late spring energy, like early March into late March as a time period because of that Pisces Aries energy. It makes me feel like I'm watching a movie of like spring, like all like the buds opening and the grass and the birds and everything, like backwards. You know, it's a little bit like Emily D. Baker says, you can't put the shit back in the horse. It's kind of like once you pull the wool off of your eyes, you can't like unrealize what you've realized. You know, like once you've woken up to what's going on around you, you cannot go back to sleep. You have made a choice to sort of depose the king of your mind. Like, oh, like J.K. Rowling is anti-trans, like, gross. Like, I don't like you anymore. Like, I'm gonna put my Harry Potter books in the trash, or, you know, donate them to starving children, or that guy from that 70s show is in jail now. Like, I didn't know he was such a creep. Like, I don't support that kind of energy. $400 million, I don't know, that seems kind of sketch to me. Maybe I don't want to follow this guy anymore. Like, Once you look behind the curtain, you cannot, the things that have been seen cannot be unseen. That's what's happening from Gemini's point of view. And Cancer is like, I don't want to be cock-blocked from life anymore, so I'm going to speak out about it. So like Gemini is kind of like the eureka moment, and Cancer is kind of the like, you will not believe this shit that's been going on. Okay, so we see that they're sort of meandering around the same tide pool here. And we'll look at the underlayer in a second. So we're going to look at the crossovers again first. We have the Ace of Junk. So this is the Ace of Pentacles. It's like an intense manifestation card. It's like, this is what I want. Weird, okay. And on this side we have Star Family. You're part of a team of souls. Call in support. It's inverted though. It's like, I feel like I'm in isolation. But notice how the Joker is sort of creating a false team by enticing people to prop them up, to be swayed by them. Want to be a family, I want to be a military operation where like my word is law and nobody questions me. But the family gives you actual support and works as a team to create something stable. And that stability and creation is in the Ace of Pentacles, the Ace of Junk, the material, the power of the material world. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be that everyone is equal in a family. It's we are all complementary, right? We do what we can at our ability level. Someone's ability level and area of expertise might be smaller or bigger than someone else's, but when you put together this patchwork quilt, when we see that even this ladle is made out of different parts, that it comes together as a whole. A WHOLE whole. A whole. Gotta get whole, man. Down at the gym. Let's look at Cancer's other cards. Another inverted card. That's weird. It's whale. I just said whole, but now it's whale. Whale and orca elders. You gotta snack on them boats. Share your song. Frequency of sound diving deep. Okay. When I see this inverted, a lot of the times it tells me confusion or delay. And we see that there has been a delay, like an entirely cock-blocking of speaking up. It's interesting that this is coming in with the looking both ways card. Because this is like, do I dare speak different than what has been funneled through my mouth? And it's like, I want to share my song, but I have no voice yet. I don't know who I'm talking to because my eyes are bound. Let me see what's here, because I have a double here. Like 2 ones, one for each card with the 11, and matching the double up here. These are all inverted too. Got a big old Saturn ring here. Or actually, that looks like Jupiter. Jupiter rings, my bad. Because Jupiter has rings around it too. You're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness and face your true north. And we see that happening when you speak out for yourself. But again, there's this sort of delay. Like a... Oh, it's giving me time delay. Like I'm in another time zone. Interesting. And we have called. Also inverted. Soul gifts and training. It's time to step up. But we already have that spoken to. But here it talks about the soul in particular. And soul group here. Oh, I was having a conversation with someone that was saying that they had, like, from a parent generation to a child generation, a similar birthmark. And I was like, maybe it's a sigil of your soul group, amongst some other theories that may or may not be reasonable. But that one I wasn't kidding about. So I find it interesting that I had that conversation earlier today, and I'm getting soul, star family, soul gift, and like I said, I was talking about a soul group earlier. Like if I bought a box of colored pencils, they're all different colors, and I might use the gray to draw a robot, and I might use the sea green color for a mermaid, and I might use the brown color for like a dog or maybe even a tree. Kefir over here might be the yellow colored pencil because she's got yellow in her thing. But we'd be in the same soul group. And my destiny is to be a person doing the reading, and Kefir's destiny is to be a stuffed animal holding a little tiny jar of crystals. Hopefully that makes sense about soul family. I feel like I just kind of rambled. Alright, let's look at this other card here. Finally, an upright one. Fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposites extremes of life. This is interesting that surrender card comes in with the breaking free, like having already broken free card. Now this is holding opposites over here, and I did notice before, but I didn't remark on it, that 2 and 8 is 10, which is completion, but it's also... Oh, it's like I'm missing the number 4, which is the Emperor number, but it's also... I've got swords here. So 4 of swords would be like sleeping or resting or waking up. And that is where the surrender would be. This fall into my arms and surrender card should be the 4 of swords. So I would have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 11. And then the level up to the next rung on a 1, which would be switching into a different suit. You surrender to the idea that the world isn't as one-sided as you thought. There are extremes, one side of the baton and the other side of the baton. I just heard like the long end of the stick and the short end of the stick. And one end has poop on it. So the idea that the world consists of dichotomies is the thing itself that frees you from some kind of mental prison, where it's like you might have been behaving under this cult of personality, but there was something inside of you that was screaming at you about cognitive dissonance, and you're like, I can't look both ways at once. My eyes don't go that far apart. Like, I don't have, like, 180-degree vision. Like, I'm not an owl. Or, well, owls have 360, but you know what I mean. You know, your eyeballs aren't, like... you don't have, like... Your eyeballs aren't, like, chameleon eyeballs. You have, like, lion eyeballs, that predator eyeballs that look to the front. But anyway, the idea is that once you realize that two things can be true, you are guilty of negligence, but you are not guilty of murder. For example, you did this thing wrong, but in the same situation, you also did 4 things right. Like, you're not a piece of shit entirely, because this wrong thing, the negligence, is true, but also the acts of paying attention and doing what you really needed to do are also true. And understanding that those two things can exist simultaneously without making some kind of snap judgment on reality or character, that is what frees you from this like inner turmoil of feeling both blocked and floating around at the same time. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's look at the underlayment from Gemini's side. I don't know, I'm doing this card first apparently. So to go with the Snick, we have more wands. The 9 of Wands inverted again. Here it's called poles. P-O-L-E. 13 and 9 is 22, which breaks down to 11. So we're answering that over here. And I had said you have to... What did I say about the mother? An ego death, and you have to break some omelets to make an egg. And I keep looking at this croquet mallet over here. You have to give up what's in your hand if you want to receive something else. Instead of like, no take, only throw, the dog has to give up the stick if they want the person to then throw the stick so they can grab something new. You know, it's like you can't hold the baby if your hands are full of trash bags. Like, you can't have cake if your hands are in a brick of cement. That's what this is saying over here. It's kind of doubling down on that ego death, but it's sort of explaining why this cracking open is happening, because it's like, I only have 2 hands. I can't hold any more drumsticks for this dude over here. Like, I can only take so much before I have to let go of whatever this crap is. Alright, so speaking of the drumsticks, let's see what's over here. The demon, I believe, yeah, it is. It's the devil in the challenge position. And I'm actually going to read this from the book because I like the descriptions on these cards, and I want to see if it has a unique description. Okay. So this is in the challenge position, so the upright and reversed scenarios apply. Though they mean no harm, the playful fireys prove to be dangerous. They get too caught up in their games to realize their actions could hurt Sarah. The demon represents vice, excess, temptation, and behaviors that lead to negative consequences. Okay, so this is the Labyrinth, the movie, tarot deck and guidebook. So the character Sarah is a teenage girl in the movie. She gets whisked away to the land of the Goblin King, who's played by David Bowie. And these little demon guys are, I guess, minions of his or something. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in like 20 years. In the movie, they'd be like Muppetry. So when it's upright, they try to tempt Sarah into abandoning her quest to play games with them, though their folly could prove deadly for her. The demon serves as a warning to resist temptation, for the consequences of indulging in excess or thoughtless hedonism could prove to be dire. And in that way, it's sort of like this kind of distraction of the cult of personality, the fandom, the religion, the patriarchy, whatever it is. It sort of catches Cancer-Gemini up in it, and whether it's healthy or not, they're sort of brought into the game, and then they get sort of invested in their character, in the structure. Whether it's increasing disregard for how it ends up for them, in this case, completely cock-blocked. So with it reversed, which is where it's heading, the demon indicates you're freeing yourself. That's this over here. From a negative situation or unhealthy behaviors. And that's really what it boils down to. The cognitive dissonance carried within your body system is unhealthy. Behaviors you may not have acknowledged or may have been hiding from others. You've decided to confront your inner demons and escape the hedonistic, dangerous fireys in your own life. Though you may be tempted to go back to your old ways, don't allow yourself to get distracted. You're on the right path. Keep going. So this is the, I don't know which direction I'm going yet, but I can see that there's another way. The fact that we have making a choice, and this in the challenge position is the choice is to break away from the sort of games and leisure of whatever the public personality is projecting, like whatever their personal play is. And it kind of reminds me of this. I don't remember if it was on the author, about the author on the Christopher Stasheff sci fantasy books I was reading, but I saw this blurb about him once that said that he got upset when people didn't say what he wanted them to say. Like, he's so used to writing characters that if the people in his real life don't perform the character that he wants them to, it upsets him. And I thought it was kind of amusing at the time, but if you encounter someone like that in your real life and they have selective hearing and don't comprehend what you're saying, if it's not what they want to hear, it can be very frustrating. I don't know why I just said that, because I forgot what I said before then, but this is breaking away from that kind of mob mentality with a figurehead, because I choose to make a break because I'm realizing it's not healthy. And again, it's sort of like Gemini is holding the energy of the act of shifting, and Cancer is holding the energy of speaking out about it. And it kind of makes sense, because if you figure Cancer is like emotional, it means like, oh, I'm spilling. Like I'm spilling the tea about it. And Gemini is I'm thinking about it. Like, hold on there a second. Okay, so this double also has a double in the underlayment. So we have the Queen of Feathers, which is the Queen of Swords, which goes to these. And then we have the World, which is the World. And here the World is the, if I can get it, the Labyrinth. But it's inverted. This to me says, like, I see what you did there. And in the way that I picked these up, this Queen of Feathers, this fairy, is looking away from the upturned world. It's giving me a little bit like in the movie Wolf. It's like, has the worm turned? It's like the worm has turned, Mary, and is now packing an Uzi. I was just thinking, like, in that same scene, David Hyde Pierce says to Jack Nicholson, he's like, "You're my god." Which is exactly the kind of cult of personality that I was describing, kind of. But in more of a, like, I'm looking up to you because you're standing up for yourself. Find the movie Wolf, 1994, starring Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer. Because the psychology of that movie is actually really relevant to this reading. With like 5 of the characters in the movie. The Queen of Swords is, for me, the highest level of, like, judge in the minor arcana, in the 4 kingdoms. Like, in order to get to a higher judge, you'd have to go into the major arcana. So you'd have your circuit judge with the high priestess, like your state judge with justice, and then, like, finally the judgment card would be like the Supreme Court. She's got the facts. She's speaking efficiently, succinctly. She's speaking succinctly about the twisted, mangled, whatever the crap that's been going on to prop up this world here. And I think it's very telling that I ended up grabbing this deck for Cancer and Gemini, because any other world card wouldn't have this labyrinth on it. And we can see when I was talking about Sleeping Beauty here and Maleficent with all these brambles, that, you know, the wall of brambles around the castle was in effect a maze because it was impassable. And that's what the labyrinth is really doing in this card. So let me put these back down. It's very immaterial except for this card in the center of the reading. And notice how even with this Ace of Junk that the ladle is upended, where we've dumped it out. It's giving me Ryan Gosling doesn't want to eat his cereal. That meme. It's, in fact, the whole reading is giving Kenergy. That's really funny because I talked about the Barbie movie in one of the other readings. Cancer and Gemini are working on the same problem, but again, Gemini is coming from this newly granted self-authority to reject the Joker cult or society, if you don't want to go as far to say that your fandom is a cult. And Cancer is a little bit in their feelings about it, but for Cancer to be all swords, they're also very much thinking about it. Gemini felt a certain way, and they're being decisive about it. Cancer has decided to go fully analytical about what they've been feeling for a long time. It's like, Cancer came in with this, like, something smells off here, man. I don't know. I got a feeling about it, but I just, who am I to go against everyone else? It's, it must be fine if if all these other people are doing it, like, but it just doesn't feel like me. I don't know, man. Like, something just doesn't feel right. I guess it must just be me. I'm Cancer. I'm always in my feelings about something. Like, whatever. Like, And then Gemini is just kind of like going along, like towing the line, and then they're like, wait a minute. I just felt something. And that feeling is bullshit. And then they're like, we're cracking this egg, man. Like, fuck it. Like, get it. Like, not doing it anymore. Like, you have crossed my boundary. And then Cancer is like, you know what, Gemini? I believe you have something there. This is too much boundary crossing, and now I am gonna tell people about it. And I'm not gonna keep trying to go down this same stupid blocked off path because it's not nourishing me in any way, because this can be health, right? Physical health. I feel a lot better without this, ingesting this into my system. That's what that card is saying, is health. Because Gemini, with the Lover's card that I mentioned a couple of times, it's not just health. It's not just a choice, it's also health, and it's also the love relationship. But in this case, it looks more like, oh, I love myself. Now, it could be Gemini and Cancer ending up in a relationship, maybe after meeting in this fandom, and then they realize, like, oh, maybe we were only here to meet each other, and, like, this seems kind of whack. And it's like, yeah, it is kind of whack. All right, well, maybe we should tell some other people that we smell a rat. Because this is what happened to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to tell my story. Like, fuck it. Hopefully that makes sense. I mean, I think if this template fits your situation, you're going to be like, yeah. Or it might be your time to... What is it like in The Wizard of Oz where they peek behind the curtain of the... What is that guy? The Wizard? Oh my god, it's called The Wizard of Oz. And I'm like, who's that guy they go see? They're off to drain their lizard. It's like, go get Bill, we gotta drain him. Get the leeches, man. I don't know if I should be reading at like 5 o'clock in the morning because it got weird. My point was that if you pick this reading, or you like the title, or you felt compelled to watch it and it makes sense to you, good. Because I feel like it wasn't super clear. It's very atmospheric, but I think I came into this talking about the astral realm. Ooh, hold on. I came into this reading with the little bed talking about the astral realm. Cancer experienced an overhaul in their dream world. And for some reason, Gemini experienced it from their core being. Cancer experiencing it from the heart chakra in the astral realm, in the dreamy dreamland, which technically could be third eye, but not necessarily. It has to do with the waters. Gemini experiencing it from the solar chakra, like, I feel it in my gut that this is crap. I mean, it would be a lot like Cancer to dream about it, but I think it's sort of mushy in the reading because it's coming from the astral. It's the only thing that's really tied to the material world is that it's affecting the physical body. It was like Cancer doesn't recognize the full breadth of the situation being foobar, fucked up beyond all reason, until it filters down through their dreams from their astral travels. Gemini notices it because it gives them gas, basically. Which is, I just said it gives them gas and it's a fucking air sign. Of course it would give them gas. Oh my god. Fucking windbag. Alright. Sorry, Gemini, but not really. You know it's true. Cancer be waking up crying and Gemini is farting themselves awake. Okay, that's it. It's late. I'm tired. It's getting stupid. Humor is the way that the universe makes you notice things more. Being stupid about stuff opens you up to laughter, which it creates a lightening of space. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Check out my playlists tab and stay groovy. And we'll see you later. Bye. Thank you for watching. Stay connected with CATtheMinion energy work. Check out my complete suite of goods and services conveniently from my Linktree. linktr.ee/CATtheMinion. Color your way into some relaxation with my coloring books Energy Forms and Draco Forms on Amazon. Get groovy with fashion and home accessories from my Cafe Press or Redbubble shops. Decorate your environment with original art and divination tools from my Etsy shop.